Hello and welcome to Bookspot. I'm Earl Weinberg. This time we will continue reading Citizen of the Galaxy by Robert Heinlein. Our hero Thorby, currently a member of the crew of the Sisu, is learning the ropes of his new culture, and that the Sisu may be a free ship, but life aboard it is very far from free. Chapter 13. Woolamura is a lush pioneer planet barely inside the Terran hegemony. It was Sisu's last stop before diving deeper for the gathering. Rich in food and raw materials, the Fraki were anxious to buy manufactured articles. Sisu sold out of Losian artifacts and disposed of many Finstrin jewels. But Woolamura offered little which would bring a profit, and money was tight in terms of power metal. Woolamura had not prospected much and was anxious to keep what radioactives it had for its infant industry. So Sisu accepted a little uranium and a lot of choice meats and luxury foods. Sisu always picked up gourmet delicacies. This time she stocked tons more than the family could consume, but valuable for swank at the gathering. The balance was paid in tritium and deuterium. A hydrogen isotopes plant is maintained there for hegemonic ships, but it will sell to others. Sisu had last been able to fuel at Jubal. Losian ships used a different nuclear reaction. Thorby was taken dirtside by his father several times in New Melbourne, the port. The local language is System English, which Krause understood, but the Fraki spoke it with clipped haste and an odd vowel shift. Captain Krause found it baffling. It did not sound strange to Thorby. It was as if he'd heard it before. So Krause took him to help out. This day they went out to complete the fuel transaction and sign a waiver required for private sales. The commercial tenders accepted by Sisu had to be certified by the central bank, then be taken to the fuel plant. After papers were stamped and fees paid, the captain sat and chatted with the director. Krause could be friendly with the Fraki on terms of complete equality, never hinting at the enormous social differences between them. While they chatted, Thorby worried. The Fraki was talking about Woolamura. Any cobbler with strong arms and enough brain to hold his ears apart can go out back and make a fortune. No doubt, agreed the captain. I've seen your beef animals. Magnificent. Thorby agreed. Woolamura might be short on pavement, arts, and plumbing. The planet was bursting with opportunity. Besides that, it was a pleasant, decent world, comfortably loose. It matched Dr. Mader's recipe. Wait until your ship calls at a planet that is democratic, free, and human, then run. Life in Sisu had become more pleasant, even though he was now conscious of the all-enveloping, personally restricting quality of life with the family. He was beginning to enjoy being an actor. It was fun to hold the stage. He had even learned to handle the clinch in a manner to win from grandmother a smile. Furthermore, even though it was play acting, Louine was a pleasant armful. She would kiss him and murmur, "My husband, my noble husband, we will roam the galaxy together." It gave Thorby goosebumps. He decided that Louine was a great actress. They became quite friendly. Louine was curious about what a fire controlman did, so under the eye of Great Aunt Tora, Thorby showed her the computer room. She looked prettily confused. Just what is N space? Length, breadth, and thickness are all you can see. How about these other dimensions? By logic, you see 4 dimensions, those 3 in time. Oh, you can't see a year, but you can measure it. Yes, but how can logic easy as can be? What is a point? A location in space. But suppose there isn't any space, not even the 4 ordinary dimensions. No space. Is a point conceivable? Well, I'm thinking about one. Not without thinking about space. If you think about a point, you think about it somewhere. If you have a line, you can imagine a point somewhere on it, but a point is just a location, and if there isn't anywhere for it to be, it's nothing. Follow me? Great Aunt Tora interrupted. Could you children continue this in the lounge? My feet hurt. Sorry, Great Aunt, will you take my arm? Back in the lounge, Thorby said, Did you soak up that about the point needing a line to hold it? I think so. Take away its location, and it isn't there at all. Think about a line. If it isn't in a surface, does it exist? That's harder. If you get past that, we've got it. A line is an ordered sequence of points, but where does the order come from? From being in a surface. If a line isn't held by a surface, then it could collapse into itself. It hasn't any width. You wouldn't even know it had collapsed, nothing to compare it with. But every point would be just as close to every other point, no ordered sequence. Chaos. Still with me? Maybe. A point needs a line needs a surface has to be part of solid space or its structure vanishes, and a solid needs hyperspace to hold it, and so on up. Each dimension demands one higher or geometry ceases to exist. The universe ceases to exist. He slapped the table. But it's here, so we know that multispace still functions, even though we can't see it any more than we can see a passing second. But where does it all stop? It can't. Endless dimensions. She shivered. It scares me. Don't worry, even the chief engineer only has to fret about the first dozen dimensions. And look, you know we turn inside out when the ship goes irrational. Can you feel it? No, and I'm not sure I believe it. Doesn't matter because we aren't equipped to feel it. It can happen while eating soup and you never spill a drop, even though the soup turns inside out too. So far as we're concerned, it's just a mathematical concept like the square root of -1, which we tangle with when we pass speed of light. It's that way with all multidimensionality. You don't have to feel it, see it, understand it. You just have to work logical symbols about it. But it's real, if real means anything. Nobody's ever seen an electron, nor a thought. You can't see a thought, you can't measure, weigh, or taste it, but thoughts are the most real things in the galaxy. Thorby was quoting Baslam. She looked at him admiringly. You must be awfully brainy, Thorby. Nobody ever saw a thought. I like that. Thorby graciously accepted the praise. When he went to his bunkie, he found Fritz reading in bed. Thorby was feeling the warm glow that comes from giving the word to an eager mind. Hi, Fritz, studying or wasting your youth? Hi, studying art. Thorby glanced over. Don't let grandmother catch you. Gotta have something to trade those confounded slugs next time we touch Finster. Woolamura was civilization, and the bachelors had replenished their art. You look as if you'd squeezed a bonus out of a Losian. What clicks? Oh, just talking to Loween. I was introducing her to N-Space, and darn if she didn't catch on fast. Fritz looked judicial. Yes, she's bright. He added, when is grandmother posting the bands? What are you talking about? No bands? Don't be silly. You find her good company. Bright, too. Want to know how bright? Well, so bright that she taught in El Nido's school. Her specialty was math. Multidimensional geometry, in fact. I don't believe it. Happens I transcribed her record, but ask her. I shall. Why isn't she teaching math here? Ask grandmother. Thorby, my skinny and retarded brother, I think you were dropped on your head. But sorry as you are, I love you for the fumbling grace with which you wipe drool off your chin. Want a hint from an older and wiser head? Go ahead, you will anyhow. Thanks. Lowena's a fine girl, and it might be fun to solve equations with her for life, but I hate to see a man leap into a sale before he checks the market. You just hold off through this next jump. You'll find that the people have several young girls, several thousand. I'm not looking for a wife. Tut tut, it's a man's duty. But wait for the gathering and we'll shop. Now shut up, I want to study art. Who's talking? Thorby did not ask Loween what she had done in El Nido, but he did open his eyes to the fact that he was playing the lead in a courtship without having known it. It scared him. Dr. Mater's words haunted his sleep. Before grandmother decides to marry you to someone, if you wait that long, you're lost. Father and the Woolamura official gossiped while Thorby fretted. Should he leave the Sisu? If he wasn't willing to be a trader all his life, he had to get out while still a bachelor. Of course, he could stall. Look at Fritz. Not that he had anything against Loween, even if she had made a fool of him. But if he was going to leave, and he had doubts as to whether he could stand the custom-ridden, monotonous life forever, then Woolamura was the best chance he might have in years. No castes, no guilds, no poverty, no immigration laws. Why, they even accepted mutants. Thorby had seen hexadactyls, hirsutes, albinos, lupine ears, giants, and other changes. If a man could work, Woolamura could use him. What should he do? Say, "Excuse me, please, leave the room," and then start running? Stay lost until Sisu jumped? He couldn't do that. Not to Father, not to Sisu. He owed them too much. What then? Tell Grandmother he wanted off? If she let him off, it would probably be some chilly spot between stars. Grandmother would regard ingratitude to Sisu as the unforgivable sin. And besides, the gathering was coming. He felt a great itch to see it, and it wouldn't be right to walk out on the play. He was not consciously rationalizing. Although stage-struck, he still thought that he did not want to play the hero in a melodrama, whereas he could really hardly wait. So he avoided his dilemma by postponing it. Captain Krause touched his shoulder. "We're leaving." "Oh, sorry, Father. I was thinking." "Keep it up. Good exercise." "Goodbye, Director, and thank you. I look forward to seeing you next time we call." "You won't find me, Captain. I'm going to line me out to a station as far as the eye can reach. Land of me own. If you ever get tired of steel decks, there's room for you here, and your boy." Krause's face did not show his revulsion. "Thanks, but we wouldn't know which end of a plow to grab. We're traders." "Each cat his own rat." When they were outside, Thorby said, "What did he mean, Father? I've seen cats, but what's a rat?" "A rat is a skorky, only thinner and meaner. He meant that each man has his proper place." "Oh." They walked in silence. Thorby was wondering if he had as yet found his proper place. Captain Krause was wondering the same thing. There was a ship just beyond the Sisu. Its presence was a reproach. It was a mail carrier, an official hegemonic vessel crewed by guardsmen. Baslam's words rang accusingly in his mind. "When opportunity presents, I ask you to deliver him to the commander of any hegemonic military vessel." This was not a military vessel, but that was a quibble. Baslam's intentions were plain, and this ship would serve. Debts must be paid. Unfortunately, Mother interpreted the words strictly. Oh, he knew why. She was determined to show off the boy at the gathering. She intended to squeeze all possible status out of the fact that Sisu had paid the people's debt. Well, that was understandable. But it wasn't fair to the boy. Or was it? For his own reasons, Krause was anxious to take the lad to the gathering. He was certain now that Thorby's ancestry must be of the people, and in the Commodore's files he expected to prove it. On the other hand, he had agreed with Mother over Mata Kingsolver. A minx should not be allowed to back a taboo lad into a corner. Better to ship her at once. But didn't Mother think he could see what she was up to now? He wouldn't permit it. By Sisu, he wouldn't. The boy was too young, and he would forbid it, at least until he proved that the boy was of the people, in which case the debt to Baslam was paid. But that mail courier out there whispered that he was being as unwilling to acknowledge honest debt as he was accusing Mother of being. But it was for the lad's own good. What is justice? Well, there was one fair way. Take the lad and have a showdown with Mother. Tell the lad all of Baslam's message. Tell him that he could take passage in the courier to the Central Worlds. Tell him how to go about finding his family. But tell him, too, that he, the Krause, believed that Thorby was of the people, and the possibility could and should be checked first. Yes, and tell him bluntly that Mother was trying to tie him down with a wife. Mother would scream and quote the laws, but it was not in the chief officer's jurisdiction. Baslam had laid the injunction on him, and besides, it was right. The boy himself should choose. Spine stiffened but quaking, Captain Krause strode back to face his mother. As the hoist delivered them up, the deckmaster was waiting. "Chief officer's respects, and she wishes to see the captain, sir." "That's a coincidence," Krause said grimly. "Come on, son, we'll both see her." "Yes, father." They went around the passageway, reached the chief officer's cabin. Krause's wife was outside. "Hello, my dear. The Decker said that... Oh, hello, my dear. The Decker said Mother had sent for me." "I sent for you." He got the message garbled. "Whatever it is, make it quick, please. I'm anxious to see Mother anyhow." He did not get it garbled. The chief officer did send for you. "Eh?" "Captain, your mother is dead." Krause listened with blank face, then it sank in, and he slapped the door aside, ran to his mother's bed, threw himself down, clutched the tiny, wasted form laid out in state, and began to weep, racking terrible sounds, the grief of a man steeled against emotion who cannot handle it when he breaks. Thorby watched with awed distress, then went to his bunkie and thought. He tried to figure out why he felt so badly. He had not loved grandmother. He hadn't even liked her. Then why did he feel so lost? It was almost like when Pop died. He loved Pop, but not her. He found that he was not alone. The entire ship was in shock. There was not one who could remember or imagine Sisu without her. She was Sisu. Like the undying fire that moved the ship, grandmother had been an unfailing force, dynamic, indispensable, basic. Now, suddenly, she was gone. She had taken her nap, as usual, grumbling because Woolamura's day fitted their schedule so poorly, typical Frackie inefficiency. But she had gone to sleep with iron discipline that had adapted itself to 100 time schedules. When her daughter-in-law went to wake her, she could not be waked. Her bedside scratch pad held many notes. Speak to son about this, tell Tora to do that, jack up the CE about temperature control, go over the banquet menus with Athena. Rhoda Krause tore out the page and put it away for reference, straightened her, then ordered the deckmaster to notify her husband. The captain was not at dinner. Grandmother's couch had been removed. The chief officer sat where it had been. In the captain's absence, the chief officer signaled the chief engineer. He offered the prayer for the dead. She gave the responses. Then they ate in silence. No funeral would be held until the gathering. The chief officer stood up presently. "The captain wishes to announce," she said quietly, "that he thanks those who attempted to call on him. He will be available tomorrow." She paused. "The atoms come out of space, and to space they return. The spirit of Sisu goes on." Thorby suddenly no longer felt lost. Chapter 14. The great gathering was even more than Thorby had imagined. Mile after mile of ships, more than 800 bulky free traders, arranged in concentric ranks around a circus 4 miles across, Sisu in the innermost circle, which seemed to please Thorby's mother, then more ships than Thorby knew existed. Kraken, Deimos, James B. Quinn, Firefly, Bon Marché, Dom Pedro, C Squared, Omega, El Nido. Thorby resolved to see how Mata was doing. St. Christopher, Vega, Vega Prime, Galactic Banker, Romany Lass. Thorby made a note to get a berthing chart. Saturn, Chiang, Country Store, Joseph Smith, Aloha. There were too many. If he visited 10 ships a day, he might see most of them. but there was too much to do and see. Thorby gave up the notion. Inside the circle was a great temporary stadium, larger than the new amphitheater at Jubalpur. Here elections would be held, funerals and weddings, athletic contests, entertainments, concerts. Thorby recalled that Spirit of Sisu would be performed there and trembled with stage fright. Between stadium and ships was a midway. Booths, rides, games, exhibits, educational and entertaining, one-man pitches, dance halls that never closed, displays of engineering gadgets, fortune tellers, gambling for prizes and cash, open-air bars, soft drink counters offering anything from berry juices of the Pleiades to the brown brew certified to be the ancient, authentic Terran Coca-Cola as licensed for bottling on Hecate. When he saw this maelstrom, Thorby felt that he had wandered into Joy Street, bigger, brighter, and 7 times busier than Joy Street with the Fleet Inn. This was the Frackie's chance to turn a fairly honest credit while making suckers of the shrewdest businessmen in the galaxy. This was the day with the lid off and the trader without his guard up. They'd sell you your own hat if you laid it on the counter. Fritz took Thorby dirtside to keep him out of trouble, although Fritz's sophistication was hardly complete, since he had seen just one great gathering. The chief officer lectured the young people before granting hit dirt, reminding them that Sisu had a reputation for proper behavior, and then issued each 100 credits with a warning that it must last throughout the gathering. Fritz advised Thorby to cash most of it. When we go broke, we can sweet-talk father out of pocket money, but it's not smart to take it all. Thorby agreed. He was not surprised when he felt the touch of a pickpocket. He grabbed a wrist to find out what he had landed. First he recovered his wallet. Then he looked at the thief. He was a dirty-faced young Frackie who reminded Thorby poignantly of Ziggy, except this kid had 2 hands. Better luck next time, he consoled him. You don't have the touch yet. The kid seemed about to cry. Thorby started to turn him loose, then said, "Fritz, check your wallet." Fritz did so. It was gone. "Well, I'll be handed over, kid." "I didn't take it. You let me go." "Cough up before I unscrew your skull." The kid surrendered Fritz's wallet. Thorby turned him loose. Fritz said, "Why'd you do that? I was trying to spot a cop." "That's why." "Huh? Talk sense." "I tried to learn that profession once. It's not easy." "You?" "A poor joke, Thorby. Remember me, the ex-Frackie, the beggar's boy? That clumsy attempt to equalize the wealth made me homesick. Fritz, where I come from, a pickpocket has status. I was just a beggar." "Don't let Mother hear that." "I shan't. But I am what I am, and I know what I was, and I don't intend to forget. I never learned the pickpocket art, but I was a good beggar. I was taught by the best. My pop, Baslam the Cripple. I'm not ashamed of him, and all the laws of Sisu can't make me." "I did not intend to make you ashamed," Fritz said quietly. They walked on, savoring the crowd and the fun. Presently, Thorby said, "Shall we try that wheel? I've spotted the gimmick." Fritz shook his head. "Look at those so-called prizes." "Okay, I was interested in how it was rigged." "Thorby?" "Yeah? Why the solemn fizz?" "You know who Baslam the Cripple really was?" Thorby considered it. "He was my pop. If he had wanted me to know anything else, he would have told me." I suppose so." "But you know?" "Some." I am curious about one thing. What was the debt that made grandmother willing to adopt me?" "I have said enough." "You know best." "Oh, confound it, the rest of the people know. It's bound to come up at this gathering. Don't let me talk you into anything, Fritz." "Well, look, Baslam wasn't always a beggar. So I long since figured out. What he was is not for me to say. A lot of people kept his secret for years. Nobody has told me that it is all right to talk. But one fact is no secret among the people, and you're one of the people. A long time ago, Baslam saved a whole family. The people have never forgotten. The Hansia. It was... The new Hansia is sitting right over there, the one with the shield painted on her. I can't tell you more because a taboo was placed on it. The thing was so shameful that we never talk about it. I've said enough. But you could go over to the new Hansia and ask to look through her old logs. If you identified yourself, who you are in relation to Baslam, they couldn't refuse, though the chief officer might go to her cabin afterwards and have weeping hysterics. I don't want to know badly enough to make a lady cry. Fritz, let's try this ride. So they did, and after speeds in excess of light and accelerations up to 100 gravities, Thorby found a roller coaster was too exciting. He almost lost his lunch. We will follow Thorby through the Great Gathering more next time.